Hi guys, and welcome to Reality with T. So I'm gonna review Iyanla Fix My Life episode 4. This one was pretty good. I still feel like we're rushing. And maybe not this one. Maybe this one was fine, maybe 40 minutes. Either way, I like when she had like the three-part series. Like I'm probably even gonna go back to those three brothers that were there twice. They had like three-part series, and they had all the pieces, and she went crazy on them. So I'm gonna probably go back and review those episodes. But either way, so this episode was about Girel or Tyrell. Either way, he was adopted, and he's now about 39, 40 years old. And apparently, a little while ago, he found his birth mother, and he also found out that I believe that he has three sisters, four or five sisters. No, five sisters, I believe, but only two were at the show. So, he is a gay man. He's 39, and do you know what? I'm trying to think because I just did an episode and I think I'm mixing them up. The other lady didn't have her kids at 12. Maybe she did. Either way, find out that I believe he is the oldest. And mom had him at 12, then a kid at 13 and 14 years old. So the mom was 12 when she had him, and she asked her, I think she asked the mother where was her mom, and she didn't know where she was. So basically, this is a pattern. And so, he had, Jarrell was given up 40 years ago. He had his adoptive parents that raised him well. And it was interesting that Iyanla said, he was adopted 40 years ago to the parents, and that is a lot for you, I guess, to have the wherewithal 40 years ago to go and adopt a child. How did that come about? But she seemed kind of surprised by it, and I'm a little confused by it. So if you know why 40 years ago, that would have been 1980, about 1978 maybe, why would it have been a big deal to adopt somebody? Can you just let me know? Because I didn't understand what she was getting at if you saw that episode. Either way, just let me know in the comments. So, the daughters that were there, or at least one of the daughters, her father's parents, I like that. Her father's parents raised her. And then we meet the mom, who, at least in the first few different scenes, meeting with Iyanla, she looked a mess, and I mean that in every sense of the word. As far as like her facial expressions, the way that she wore her clothing and her hair, her entire being, her energy, everything was just, you can tell, she's been through a lot, she's going through a lot. There might be some mental health stuff going on. I'm sure that there are, with the way that her life has gone. You can just tell. I was just surprised that they allowed her to be on there. I mean, I guess it's come as you are, but I would just think that, like, you have hair and makeup right there. Why wouldn't you allow her to present her best self to the world? We do see in the later scene that she kind of got herself together and she looked more together, but it was just weird because, like, her pants were kind of sagging off of her, and, like, she just seemed very beat down. So, in the beginning, she walks in. The first thing they have for the mother to see is the son's timeline of his life. When I was 3, I won karate. When I was 4, I did swimming. Whatever it is that they had on his timeline, and the mother just breaks down, seeing a physical representation of everything she missed in her son's life, and that was just really sad, because it's like, I didn't even know this kid his entire life, and I come into his life at 40. You know what I mean? You can tell that the mother has been thinking about her son this whole time, that she misses him, she wants to know him, and that she is sincerely apologetic of any issues that she may have caused him, and she just wants the love from him. You know what I mean? You can kind of tell that. So the first issue that they talked about is that the son is gay, and he has, whatever he's gone through in his life, he's at a point now where he's confident, he's fine with whatever way he is living his life, and doesn't need to be accepted by anybody. But I'm sure that it would feel better if the mother that you didn't know did accept you. And so her whole thing is, I accept him, but God says you shouldn't live this way. And Iyanla doesn't even go so deep into that, because remember, she also was a pastor, so she could go deep into it. But the thing is, she's like, this is what it is. You came into his life at this. You have to accept him. Whether you think this way or not, he doesn't want to hear that from you. And it's not helping anybody, because we always say at my job, if you're going to say something, does it hurt or help the situation? If it's not helping the situation, don't say it, right? So get over it. Do you want to love him? You want to be in his life? Then don't ever say that to him again. And she says, okay. So, you know, at 12, she had, I guess, I'm sure she had been molested and raped, I believe. I'm getting a couple of them mixed up, but she had like blocked out. She said she had learned at 12 years old to block out all the pain she was going through, to block it out of her mind, right? And so Iyanla tells her, well, it's all over your body. And that's what I was saying with her energy, her body. You can tell that she is just a walking representation of her pain, right? So, of course, the mother then says that she was molested and raped and beat, and she never told her mom, and the whole thing. Again, I'm trying to figure out for all this to happen. And I realized that I said this about in my other episode, so I got the two mothers mixed up. I'm sorry, but either way, that mother was also touched and raped as well. But where were the people around her that allowed her to get pregnant, keep this baby, and then get pregnant 2 more times subsequently, and end up at 14 with 3 kids? At 12, you're a baby. At 13, you're a baby. At 14, you're a baby. Look up 12-year-old on Google, and they look like babies. 12-year-olds are kids, right? So for her to have had kids this young and back to back to back, so you have 12, you can't really recover the fact that you had a kid. You don't even have time to teach yourself to be a mother, and then you have one at 13 and 14. You never develop any motherly instincts. Of course you wouldn't at 12 anyway, because you're 12. You haven't even developed teenager. You're not even a teenager. You haven't developed teenager instincts. So you damn sure can't develop motherly instincts, right? You can't develop how can you take care of others? You never even had a chance to learn how to take care of yourselves. 12-year-olds now are not taking care of themselves. I work with middle schoolers. You know what I mean? So it's this whole thing is just tragic. It's a tragedy. Okay, it's tragic for this woman. It's tragic for the kids that she brought into the situation. Her giving him up, for whatever reason, she gave him up and not the others, but giving him up was the best thing she could have done for his life, because he ended up having a great life, or a great upbringing, as best that those parents can provide him. That is just a tragic, unfortunate situation to me, because this woman was failed. These kids were failed. Who was helping her to raise these kids? What was the goal for her at 12, 13, 14 with 3 kids? What was going on here? I just got to talk to the mother, the grandmother, the uncle, the grandfather. What happened here that we allowed her to be raped and molested for all these years, to the point where I think she got with a 18-year-old. They got her pregnant, and this was allowed to happen. When Iyanla says my heart weeps for you, like when it's cases like this, my heart weeps for these people, because like she said, I didn't have a childhood. How do you have a childhood and you're already doing these adult things in single digit numbers, age numbers? It's so much that I can't even go into, because you guys have probably cut up the video. So I'm going to move forward from that, but it's just tragic. So, she says, who was it, or was it he? One of them said that they spare, either way I quoted it, they spare other people's feelings in exchange for, she says, in exchange for her pain. And I thought about that. That resonated with me, because I feel like a lot of people I do that so much. I rarely express how I really feel, because I might be afraid of the other person's reaction. And that reaction is because I don't want to hurt their feelings. I don't want them to feel that I'm coming at them, that I meant to hurt them. So I usually hold on to what I'm feeling, you know what I mean, or my pain, in order to protect other people's pain. And I think it's also because I feel like I can deal with it better. And I don't know if I can. That's just how I feel. So it was interesting. That resonated with me. And I wrote that quote down. I forgot exactly who said it. It might be the mom. I don't know. Or one of the daughters. Maybe it was one of the daughters and talking to her mother. Whatever it was, that quote was, yeah. So Iyanla's talking to one of the sisters, and she explains her situation being with the mother, right? And like I said, her giving up that son, she probably should have given up the daughters too, and hopefully the good families, was the best thing that could have happened to him. Because them, and the whole thing about kids who are adopted, they spend a large portion of their life, a lot of them, feeling that they missed out on something being with their biological mother. I wish that I wasn't giving up. I want to be with my biological mother, not really understanding that this was the best situation for them, because the sister said, she didn't start school until the third grade. Mind you, you're 8 or 9 in third grade. So there was no prior schooling. And now we understand, we put kids in school 2 or 3 years old, because we know that if they go in at 5 and 6, all the other kids have a huge advantage over them. So imagine going into school in a testing grade and not having any prior formal education or structured education. So um, she didn't start school to third grade because they didn't want ACS notified about whatever else was going on in the home. So obviously there was a lot that we didn't get into here. And again, this could have also been a 2-part series. I'm gonna take that back. We could have done this in 2 parts, right? So she says, I experienced desperation. I experienced abuse. I'm sure there was poverty. Was this, when you talk about desperation, I mean, there's a lot going on that we don't know about, right? Now the other sister who was there was raised by the grandmother. And so we see that a lot also, especially with those 3 boys from the other season. They were raised differently. Like, some of the kids are raised differently. So the one that's raised with the grandmother has a better life. Grandma's taking care of her, but is also now feeling guilty because the sister is now going through all of this. So now they have an issue. And this sister feels like, I couldn't protect my sister because I was with grandma. But guess what? Grandma was cooking for me. All my needs were met. I was well fed, and grandma got to love on me. And this sister didn't get that. So I'm sure there was some kind of, some sort of a jealousy or competition type thing with this sister too. Like, why were you picked to live with your grandmother? I think it was with her father. That's what it was, her father's mother. And I didn't get to that option. But then she also probably feels like, well, you got to stay with mommy, whatever. Well, you know what I mean? So it just brings up a lot of issues. So, Iyanla told the sister, the one that stayed with mom and went through all these things, who never talks about all the hard things, because I guess she doesn't want this sister to feel guilty about having a better life. She says, you not talking about it to this sister or the brother that was adopted out keeps them ignorant to the pain and your experience that you went through. So that was interesting, because it's true. You're trying to protect everybody. You don't want to hurt their feelings and the whole thing, but you doing that, it makes them, they don't know anything that you went through, and that's important. How are you going to have a sibling relationship and not know what your sibling has been through? So, the sister told the mother, I'm sorry, I wrote down a note. I'm trying to figure out that she left them and she was physically and verbally abusive. Was the mother was physically and abusive to the kids, the ones that she left? I don't remember. Let's move on from that, right? So again, I said before, the other sister longing for the mother. When they were bringing up these things to the mother says she felt badgered. I know I have failures, but you're not going to badger me about it. She, of course, feels attacked and defensive. Like I said before, when Iyanla said in the last episode, all mothers feel attacked whenever you express how you feel to them or your experience. And that's how she felt. And so Iyanla said, well, we're not badgering you. You know what I mean? But you do need to know what it is. You need to be accountable for it. You need to be held accountable for it, right? And so while the sisters are talking about the experience, the brother says, and he talks about his, I feel like you're not taking it all in. You know what I mean? And all this pain, and then he says, like, he feels like meeting the family. Now I'm hearing all of your experiences. I can't take on everybody's pain. This is too much for me to hear all at one time. He kind of has a small breakdown. You guys have been through so much. This is a lot to hear. And for me to have been raised the way I was, and now I come into the family and I'm hearing all this, is too much to bear, right? So he also says he feels like when he came back into his mother's life, she reverted back to a 12-year-old. And we didn't get to go too deep into that, but I'm guessing her behavior, her tantrum-like behavior, and it was interesting because she probably did, because all that time missed to her was now deleted. So I'm back at 12. You know what I mean? And I don't know if she's trying to parent him in a different way. How is their dynamic now? I would have liked to know more about how are they getting along with each other now. So maybe that's what he was referring to. But if you guys know, write me in the comments, let me know. So, let's see. Her mom and dad weren't there for her, which of course we know. She talks about, Iyanla basically reinstates that, you have a black gay son. This is his experience. You have to accept it fully. You know, she says to the mother, how do you feel? The mother says, sometimes I just want to scream. So Iyanla takes her outside to just scream, and she just wails. And I'm guessing it was very soul crushing because all her kids that were sitting at the table indoors started to weep with her. But I'm guessing it was just refreshing for her to just let out, to put a sound to some of that pain. So, you know, in the end, we see the adoptive mother and the biological mother meet with each other. And it's interesting because he comes in, they're seated on two different sides, and he says, well, I don't know, who do I sit with? And the mother, the biological mother says, sit over there. You know, and Iyanla says, you can choose. He sits with his adoptive mother. And, you know, I guess they both seem to be pretty mature about it, to a point where they're not like, you know, oh, I don't want you to take my son from me. I raised him for 40 years and you weren't around. And this one isn't saying, I want my son back. They were kind of both saying, we can all be in contact with each other. We can just make this a bigger family and share the love and all be a part of each other's lives. And it seemed very positive. It seemed very communal. And I'm hoping that that is the way that they, moving forward, that that's the way that the direction the family went in. So, you know, I'm hoping the best for them. It ended up being pretty a feel good moment. But goodness, sometimes I was looking at all the Iyanlas back to back, and I'm like, damn, like there's just so much pain. Some people come from so much pain that it is a lot to take in. There's a lot to unpack, and I just wish that we had more time to ask more questions, and she was able to really, or even bring in a therapist, you know what I mean, and do some of that deep work. But I'm sure they wouldn't let the cameras in for that. But either way, let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you for joining Reality with T.